In my past, I used to struggle from depression and suicidal thoughts. And one time I heard somebody say that the suicidal thoughts, it's not that you want to kill yourself, it's that you want to kill a part of yourself. And once I got that realization, I realized like I had to kill that part of myself, and you had to tap into that dark side, into that destructive, into that inner savage that we all have. We all descend from generations of guys who rode on horses and chopped each other's heads off. So you have that inside you. Everybody does. And a lot of times that turns into self-destruction because they aren't using it in a creative way. So this is maybe a little bit confusing, or hopefully it lands for the people who need to hear it, but using that power, that destructive savage within, to kill the part of yourself that is no longer serving you, instead of having it be self-destructive, is pretty key, or has been for me and part of my journey.
What did that look like?
The way that played out is in developing new habits. So when you are doing something self-destructive, let's say, for example, watching pornography, and you no longer want to do that, you're going to be really hooked into doing that because it hooks a large part of your mammalian brain, and even probably deeper into your lizard brain. And we've got this tiny neocortex that we can sort of use to input executive function into that brain. It's like a rider on an elephant, but ultimately that elephant is going to do what that elephant wants to do, and we're along for the ride. And that's why life can be so frustrating, because we're like a passenger in this experience. It's like, what the hell is going on? Food is another big one. You know, there are all these things that companies get a tremendous amount of profit from because they know this. They know how to hook us, and they know that we're essentially powerless. So taking that energy and rerouting your neurology to be able to carve a new neural network to do something else instead, hopefully something that brings more nourishment to your life, that takes a tremendous amount of savage energy to get going. But once it's more developed in your brain, once the habit's more in place, then it's easier. But getting that going it does take like I'm not going to be doing XYZ, whatever it is. Everyone knows what that thing is. And bringing that energy to that moment is how that change happens. And it's not just going to happen by itself.
Yeah, I've described it. It was really interesting. It was actually my dad who asked me. He said, like, how do you take the action you need to take when faced with like risk or fear? And it was really, it was kind of like a really weird meta moment to like have your father ask that of you. And we'll I'll avoid that specific relational tangent, but I described it to him as like, imagine arriving to a field and the grass is taller than you can see. And right in the middle of the field is a super well-worn path. In fact, it's paved. And so you can see from end to end, but you don't want to continue to go down that path because you've been there before and you know the outcome. So your choice now is to literally pick through the grass with a machete and hack your way across. The first time across, you're going to get torn up. Bugs, needles, briars, whatever, on your first pass through. And then the second time, you're starting to mat the grass down. And then the third time, okay, I've been here before. It's getting a little bit more comfortable. And eventually you've walked to that new path. And that is what you're describing with these kind of like neural pathways. So like the positive end of the spectrum is if you can get yourself through conscious intention over and over and over, and the repetitions will depend on the habit. But at some point there will be that pendulum switch, and the elephant will now know that path, and it will unconsciously be walking there. So just like you can leverage, and the evil forces at play leverage the unconscious mind against your higher self, it can be for you. It just takes that period of war.
It does. Yeah. There's that period of war. And once you come out on the other side, and this can take years, by the way.
Yep.
This is why I kind of presented persistence or resilience as a grit, as a key to that, because it can take years. But if you hold on to that belief, you will eventually create any habit, stop doing any habit, shift habits, however you want. That's kind of the beauty of being human, is we do have that power within us to change our body mind. And there's so many tools. There's almost too many different modalities and methods to kind of help with that on the internet. But that's the beauty of what we have now with all this connectivity, is being able to use this shared hive mind to our advantage, to find the tools to be able to do that in an efficient and effective way.